Welcome to the great fun that is going to be round 2 of the ESR Redline Motorsports Invitational, Winter Invitational. With me on commentary is the man, the myth, the legend, Byron Dirksecki.
Hi, everybody.
And Division 1 racer, Travis Wallace.
I'm back.
Nerd.
He has returned to comment on us plebs in Division 2 and 3.
We've asked him to keep his condescension to a minimum, but he cannot be held responsible.
We have on pole for this race Enrique Hervas. Once again, he has pretty much been the class of the field for Prototype 2. And we have 21 cars on the grid. It is 7 prototypes and 14 GT cars. And we are off, and some interesting lag there for one Felix Torval, or Thorval. We head into the first corner. Everyone is, looks like everyone's more or less clean. A couple cars went wide, but that's about it. And the prototypes are, of course, out to the early lead, with the leader of the GT3 category being Maranhão, and Speedy Gonzalez is off the track.
Now, Travis, would a GT3 technically be faster or slower than a GT4?
A good deal faster.
Considerably. There are GT4s in the game.
So
Yeah,
the more
they're
numbers,
more production based than the GT3 cars.
so the more numbers you shed, the faster you are. I got it.
Yep, GT1 is the fastest, followed by GT2, 3, and 4.
It's like the P2s are going to be pretty physical this round also.
Yeah, the P2s, I'm not really sure if that's advisable, but, but they are. Rick Martel up to 4th place, trailing his identical car counterpart, Pinky Mo, who is currently in 3rd place.
Sounds like that should be the name of a song. Pinky Mo.
Pinky Mo.
From the 50s.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The song that keeps going through my head is the one by the oh, great! My brain's now forgotten the title of the song and the band. It's the Mary Moon song from the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack.
Oh, I don't remember the band on that either, or the title
Don't
of the song.
eat meat, but you sure like the bone.
Mm-hmm. We have the Eel as our Alamore, who's a big fan of our commentary and currently in 5th place.
Excellent, as well he should be.
Ways to win us over, compliment our commentary, and we will be nicer to you. He is currently making his way past Rick Martel and has Edward Gonzalez right on the tail of Martel as well.
Go, Speedy, go!
And Pinky Mo has been spun around. Jake Sorak has been caught up in this as well.
The sassy boy Mantis is down.
It's a bad time to turn away. We got the whole GT3 field coming through there.
Indeed. There's a lot of changes going on in the field right now. The carnage.
Cameraman needs to be fired.
The humanity. Pinky Mo and Rick Martel have resumed, and there's like a 4-wide battle of GT3s right behind them. That could be disastrous. We rejoin Azar Alamore and his teammate Edward Gonzalez. They're not really teammates, but they are running literally the same car.
When the car passes you by and you get mud in your eye, that's Alamore.
That is Alamore. Simon Boehner looking up the inside of, I believe that is Philip Bush in the McLaren, with Dean Reimers, the Echo Hitman from Australia, trailing them in the Audi. This is Boehner battling with Bush for, I want to say this is 4th place in the GT3s. They're behind Maranhão, Zatoni, and Ramaker.
Ramekin. We're gonna have some hors d'oeuvres.
We may have some hors d'oeuvres.
Would these cars in fact be faster if they had spoilers on every single vertical surface?
Without a doubt.
Excellent. We should do that. We should have a car that is literally like almost like a biplane, but it's a car, so you have a total horizontal spoiler over the whole thing.
Would there not be at some point where the drag created by the spoiler would at some point?
That's when you get out the non-stick cooking spray.
Oh, okay. Another. Oh, contact!
That guy did.
Chris Ramaker is in the barrier, courtesy of Philip Bush.
That contact may have come later once he was already spinning. Looked like he caught the curve.
Could be.
Either way, that was a hard hit. He's
Indeed.
going to be done for.
We're following once again Simon Boehner, who seems to be the cameraman's favorite guy. Dean Reimer's going very slowly down the inside there. He's going to lose a spot or two as Boehner is putting the pressure on the Audi.
Mike Mikhailovich currently sitting comfortably in the top 14.
Not for long. I have a drive-through penalty.
Well, damn it, you should have brought me some fries.
One that I did not deserve. I would like to plead that.
I don't know. I think just karma-based, you probably deserve that.
I mean, possibly if we're going on the
Looks like the leader off up there.
Indeed.
It was.
Scott Hutchinson battling with fellow Porsche driver Simon Boehner.
I saw that he commented something in the Discord after this race was done, but I don't remember what it was. Also, I decided to call him Scott the Rabbit Hutcherson.
This just keeps changing. We still have the P2s making their way through the field, so that means that the standings chart there is, we'll go with the term interesting.
Dynamic.
Dynamic is a good word. Good word. I like that. Because you can see Jake Sorak there trying to still make his way back to the other P2s from his spin. He was collected by the incident that Pinky Mo spun. We don't know why. Andy Blade making his way back through the grid. He was also caught up in that accident, making a move past John Pacheco for 16th overall, and I believe that's something like 9th in the GT class.
I must say that Andy Blade looking sharp today.
And we pick up a battle between Mike McGracken and David Anderson. By the way, that's where I got my stop-go penalty, or my drive-through penalty right there.
Mr. Anderson.
Looked like it may have been a little deserved.
See, I don't think so, because it shouldn't give you... This is just my opinion. Take it for what it is. But for... Considering that you're supposed to more or less get away with the first cut as long as it's not something completely ridiculous, the fact that that was my first offense and that led to a drive-through penalty is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, that I can understand. You didn't. There wasn't much time gained there.
Yeah, there was. I'm gonna call it. I don't know, 0.4 of a second tops.
And Michael's still ahead of Mr. Anderson because apparently he is busy helping his landlady out with the garbage.
That was the other disappointment, as you can see me diving down in the pits to take my drive-through right there. I was really hyped up to have a possibly long-term battle with David Anderson. We seem to be similarly paced, and that was going to be a fun battle, and the drive-through took that away from us.
Well, I'll have him fired immediately.
That's not his fault.
No, the race judge.
There were a couple of others also.
Slovak seems to be having some issues.
Yeah, Jake Sorak off the track once again.
Yeah, Sorak. That's what I said.
Definitely seems like the car might be driving him a little bit more than the other way around.
That sounds oddly sexual.
Like he was carrying damage from the first incident, but
could be. Andy Blade. Andy Blade hunting down Felix Thorville as he continues his comeback through the field. Making the move down the inside of the Mercedes, but not quite on yet.
You gotta go see what you do is you just gas it up and go right into his rear quarter panel, and he goes off the track and you keep going.
We are just a quick roll call of who we are missing from this race, of course. No Steve Carman. So we're without the Cyborg, and we're also without another guy who we talked about a lot last time out, Dennis Meister, missing in action from this race.
Well, shit. Steve, I've noticed that Steve has foregone the Cyborg nickname on Discord and given me an inspiration for a new one for him, and he will now be known as Steve Super Unknown Carman.
Best wishes to Steve in his continual battles with Race Room, staying connected for an entire race.
Rip.
In the meantime, we resume action with Simon Boehner hunting down Dean Reimers' Audi. This battle has been going on pretty much since the start of the race, and I don't know who's bribed the kid. Oh, we've had a change for the GT lead. Ariel Zatoni has passed Cesar Maranchau for the lead of the GTs.
Cesar, don't call me Benoni.
Yeah, please don't call yourself Benoni. For the love of God. It's the kiss of death.
At least he's not Raul Mendoza.
Well, that'd be a Mexican as opposed to a Portuguese name. But yeah, that's true.
Mexican
So
Americans.
we do have the top 5 GT, top 6 GTs actually there in your shot. It is Tony from Rancho Bush, who's made his way up to 3rd. Dean Reimers, Simon Boehner, and then Scott Hutchinson are your top 6 for them. Which is of course odd because you can see there's still a couple of P2s making their way back through the field, including Jake Sorak and also Pinky Mo. So there's a little bit of confusion there as to where people will eventually shake out. Dean Reimer's getting a little bit too much of the curb there, but he holds it. And
Stay on target.
And is putting the pressure on one Philip Bush, who, it should be mentioned, connection seems to be stable this race. He's not constantly going from first to last place.
That's an improvement.
I'm gonna workshop a 2, 1 in the hand, 2 in the bush joke. It's gonna be great. You'll see later on.
Okay.
I'll be waiting.
You might wait a couple of races, but it'll happen.
It looks like they're coming up to lap Chris Ramaker, actually, the relatively monotone orange McLaren up ahead. I do believe he is down a lap, having been the one that spun into the barrier earlier.
It's like Moreno just got the lead back. It's shaping up to be a good race for the GT3s.
Yeah.
Top 5 right here within one shot of each other.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, 5th place is a little bit back. Hutchinson's not seemingly quite, pardon me, Simon Boehner is not quite able to keep with this group, but he is within striking distance if someone makes a mistake, for sure.
I noticed that 5th place seems to be the spot for the most attractive people.
That's true. I mean, there is a model in 5th place.
Oh. Is it true that he has had his car outfitted with a special gas dispenser?
I mean, it does dispense a certain fragrance. Oh, and Philip Bush getting a little bit wide on the turn there opened the door for Dean Reimers, but he was not able to, at this time, take advantage.
Anybody who didn't understand any of that joke needs to go back and watch some 80s wrestling.
Mm-hmm. And even into the 90s.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Can-Am connection.
Ariel Zattoni, whose championship was largely compromised at Road America. He was one of the guys who was caught up in that first lap accident that put him out. Kind of making it a challenge to be a championship contender, but a guy who definitely has the speed to take the fight to Cesar Moreno, as we're seeing now. Andy Blade up on the back of David Anderson, looking for a way around him into 12th place overall, and if I do some quick math, I believe that would be 7th in the GT class.
And now all I want to do is go listen to Ariel versus Lotus by the Limb Lifters. Thanks very much. My brain at work.
I live to serve.
That top 5 still looking very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I noticed that we don't have a single Gulf Oil car on the track today, so there will be no winner, I'm sorry.
Yeah, who was it that was missing that did the Gulf Oil last time? And we cut away from Andy Blade making a move on David Anderson. Fire the director!
Correct. There's got to be a way that they can improve the AI on that auto camera. Like, you can't... Don't pan away if they're within, however long, or if they've been, if they're this close, but they've been that close for forever, it's okay to pan away. But if they get a lot closer dramatically quickly, it's probably okay to stay there for another 30 seconds to watch what happens.
Mm-hmm. You think it'd be smart enough to know that Andy Blade was, chopping into Anderson's lead for probably around 2 laps, and a pass was coming up. And instead, we're looking at, no offense to Ariel and Cesar, who are fantastic drivers in this battle, has in Porsche because it's a class lead, but there's not really a particular fight going on there right now. Philip Bush is on the tail of Scott Hutchinson, so he's had an incident and dropped behind Dean Reimers and Simon Boehner, and Hutchinson, so he's dropped 3 spots. And
oh, wait, is that a Gulf oil?
That is a Gulf oil, yeah. Actually.
Hey, we got a winner! Go Bush!
Scott Hutchinson is your guy.
Oh, Scott Hutchinson, the rabbit. The rabbit is my favorite, other than Speedy.
Speedy Gonzalez currently in 3rd place.
Go, Speedy, go!
Philip Bush looking to go on the attack against Scott Hutchinson. We are approaching the 1/4 mark of the race. We are expecting some pit stops from the prototypes at around the 40 to 35 minute mark, I do believe. And the GT3s will be slightly after that.
Pinky Mo's.
We join.
I don't know, remember the words. I'm totally stepping over everybody's lines.
We briefly look at Pinky Mo and Jake Sorak making their way through the pack, trying to get through the GT3 class. There was a 3rd GT3 there, but I believe it was Enrique Hervas, the actual race leader, coming up to lap some of the P2s. Scott Hutchinson has lost a spot to Philip Bush. We missed that. Bush moving up into 5th place in the GTs.
The song in question in my brain is New Age Girl by Deadeye Dick.
It's a solid name for a band.
It is. Actually, they're from New Orleans, Louisiana, which is not a New Orleans accent, I'm pretty sure.
Our top 3 in the prototypes are Enrique Hervas, Felipe Fejea, and Edward Gonzalez. Haven't seen a lot of them pretty much this whole race. It's been a very GT3 dedicated camera work. The GT3s are currently led by these 2 men, Cesar Maragno and Ariel Zattoni, 3rd place belonging to Dean Reimers in the Audi. They have seemingly stretched out a little bit. We were having those nice shots of the top 5 being all together, but it appears the top 2 are starting to pull away.
Would like to, actually, I was about to say something that I thought might be clever, and then the whole leaderboard time thing switched up, so now I don't know what's going on. I was going to say it looked like the Portuguese was closing in within a couple of seconds of the leader, and then it also all of a sudden jumped up to like 45 seconds.
Probably just a timing glitch at this time.
Or I just can't read. So that's for the kids at home that don't know what they're doing, which includes me. Hervas Huevos' time is currently 1 minute and 3 seconds, and then your boy El Portuguese is just 4 seconds behind him. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yay, I'm not dumb. Okay, so basically...
spin from Bush.
Philip Bush spinning off and makes some contact with the wall. Hopefully he's not damaged his rear end.
Ladies and gentlemen, a car on the track is worth 2 off the track. I told you it was coming.
You did. We were warned. And I think the timing screen's there a little bit inaccurate at this moment because it's confused.
I was going to say, how long are these laps?
Well, the laps are about 1 minute 40 for the GT3s.
Oh, okay.
And probably about closer to like low 130s for the P2s. Oh, somebody is off there and losing some spots, or might be getting lapped, I don't know. Simon Boehner putting the pressure back on Dean Reimers. This is a battle for 3rd place in the GT class. And we go to Andrew Uninaki as he takes on John Pachea's Mustang. This is a battle for 16th place near the back of the GT3 class. And, I can confirm that car we saw go off the track is Fredrikos Wagner. He is being lapped in the BMW.
Gadzooks.
Doing a good job of getting out of the way as we go back to Uninaki versus Pachea in the battle for 16th place.
It's Uniaki.
Uniyaki.
I'm assuming he's just a really big fan of Sea Urchin.
Possible. A little bit of contact there, and the Callaway Corvette struggling to stay under control as it battles the Mustang. The battle of American power, Chevrolet versus Ford here.
He will now be known as Andrew Urchin Uniaki.
Which GT3s are your favorites, Travis? While we have a moment here of somewhat tranquility.
It's tough to say, man. I do like the Callaway Corvette. It handles incredibly well. It's not the fastest in terms of speed, but it corners amazing. The Audi's pretty good balance. The Mercedes is really good. I drive the McLaren in the league here. It's probably my favorite as far as how it feels. It's a little less stable. It dances a little bit, and I like it. But my favorite's probably the Camaro. It's just it can't keep up. It's too. I don't know. It's too big. It's too heavy.
Too straight. Well, I don't even think it's the heaviness. It's just it can't corner worth really anything.
Yeah. The cornering is horrible. I like the sound. I like the look.
Sounds like you should definitely play Rocket League with us. That's half the game, right?
I do recommend. Unayaki is on the attack against Pachea here. Looks like John was held up a little bit, letting one of the P2s by, and it has opened the door for the Corvette. Just as an other note, it looks like the GT3 class leader is being caught by Ariel Zatoni.
For our viewership into Quebec, it is pronounced a Corvette.
Corvette.
I mean, the Callaway is technically a Dutch one. It's not an American Corvette, so I'll allow it.
Because if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much.
Still an American-inspired design, and I do believe the original Callaway designer was American, if I'm not terribly mistaken on the matter.
Yeah. No, Callaway was American. Just I think now they're a German company.
Yeah. For sure. That's why they appear in ADAC. It's generally the rule is if it's not made in Germany, ADAC doesn't really have anything to do with it.
And if it's not made in Germany, it's not good enough.
True. We have Ariel Zatoni under, not pressure, because of course Fehea is lapping him. Fehea is also dropped back to about 10 seconds behind Hervas, who's really making his way, looking for that second-class win of the season. And in a very short season, 2 class wins would be a big deal for Mr. Hervas as far as trying to claim the overall Invitational Championship.
If he does win two different classes, does that make him a second-class citizen?
I mean, he is has a Mexican last name.
Gadzooks.
I think y'all were missing, what, 5 or 6 cars from this round? So there's a lot of points on the table for people that normally wouldn't finish as strong to make up some ground.
Scott Hutchinson appearing to be in a battle with Dean Reimers. So Reimers is dropping back through the field. He was in 3rd place in the GT3s for a considerably long time. Must have made a mistake there somewhere because he's further back now. He's in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place now, and is going to be under pressure from Andy Blade shortly in a battle of the 2 Audis. One of the P2s making its way through that group there. That would be either Speedy Gonzalez or Azar Alamore. Little flash of the headlights.
My question now is the Greek freak... oh no, I just saw him go up. Okay, he's just that far behind. I was not to talk any shit, because you're a better racer than me, but he was down 2 laps, and I saw him pop up back only down 1 lap. So I was about to ask if he had eaten shit and died like a while back, or what.
No, he is still running. We have lost a car, although I would be at a loss to tell you who, because we did start this race with 21 cars, and there are only 20 being shown. So we did lose somebody, and it's one of the GT3s. It's
probably sure Steve Carmen's fucking Smurf account.
Could be. Andy Blade putting the pressure on Dean Reimers, and via extension putting the pressure on Scott Hutchinson. This is a battle for 4th place amongst the GT3s. So some big points up for grabs here. We also are back to the battle with the Callaway Corvette of Andrew Unayaki, who is now behind Felix Thorville and John Pachea, so something has happened to him. He was fighting with the Mustang up in 16th place and is now back into 18th place, as Dean Reimers has lost a spot to Andy Blade, who is now up into 5th place for the GT3s, and will be sighting his sights next on Scott Hutchinson, the Rabbit.
I believe we should refer to Dean Reimers as the Rhinoceros.
I just refer to him as Echo Hitman.
I mean, oh, that's Echo Hitman. I didn't know that. Okay,
that is Echo Hitman.
I was either going to call him the Rhinoceros or with orange, because nothing rhymes with orange.
Possibly true.
Unless, of course, you ask Eminem, who can rhyme anything with anything.
That's true. He's the god of rhyme. John Pache off the track. He's going to lose a spot to Felix Thorville and fall back into that fight that we were talking about earlier between him and the Corvette of Andrew Uniyaki.
Felix, don't call me Trinidad Thorville.
Dean Reimers. Oh!
That was close.
Andy Blade avoids contact and maintains the position somehow.
Listen, that's an attractive booty, and I won't tap it.
Battle between Porsche and 2 Audis, the sister/intertangled companies of Audi and Porsche. One of the P2s making his way through the field.
Have you seen that meme with the lizards and it's like iguana tap it, but I got a reptile dysfunction?
That's a pretty good one. It's pretty solid.
I'm all in favor of like multiple meme layers and multiple puns.
Andy Blade putting the pressure on Scott Hutchinson. I don't think you can go around the outside of that corner though.
Nope, can't pass the Gulf oil, baby.
I think it's gonna happen. Andy Blade's been on a charge.
Andy has been on a charge since that early spin in the race where he was caught up in the Pinky Mo Jake Sorak accident. And has been charging back through the grid ever since.
Can't do it. Can't pass the Gulf oil. Too slick.
Scott Hutchinson is a tough guy to pass. He's a very good defensive driver, and we'll see if he can keep the Audi behind him.
Little known fact, Mr. Hutchinson puts at least 3 liters of whiskey in the fuel just to thin out the mix.
That seems like a bad plan.
Probably is, yeah. But it worked on down Periscope, so I'm going with it. Anybody who has not seen the movie Down Periscope, you have wasted your life. I can't help you.
Dean Reimers, of course, probably licking his chops at the possibility of picking up 2 spots here if this goes sideways. Should be mentioned, Jake Sorak has gotten through all the GT3s and is now in 6th place. Pinky Mo is still making his way through the slower class.
Boom, ba-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da. That song's gonna be Pinky, you're a jerk, okay? And just because you've got that song stuck in my head, Pinky Mo's nickname will be New Age Girl. I can't help you. I'm sorry. It's all phonetically and rhymes. It is perfect.
Oh, one of the GT or one of the P2s off. I believe that actually is Pinky Mo, who is now at the front of this pack.
Fair enough. And if New Age Girl doesn't suit, then ironically or otherwise, then we could refer to him as Dead Eye Dick.
Looks like David Anderson has made a pit stop. He has dropped back a little bit, maybe? Or maybe there's just some connection shenanigans going on down further in the grid. But we are pretty close to when we should start seeing some pit stops. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure the P2s are pitting. Fahea has dropped back to 4th.
Yeah, he would generally be the first one to pit, because I believe he was saying that the Daytona prototype does have some fuel mileage disadvantages against the Radicals and Judds. And Andy Blade still trying to get around. Oh, Pinky Mo going off the track.
You're telling me there's a faction of cars called the Radicals?
Yes.
Awesome.
Andy Blade still has not found a way around Scott Okay, I say that and I may have just cast your curse, Scott Hutchinson.
God.
I was about to also say that Hutchinson was doing a good job with the defensive line.
Run, rabbit, run.
But off the track now, and that's opening the door for the Australian Dean Reimers to go on the attack as well. Going down the inside, and he's got it! So to recap, that means that is 4th place for Andy Blade in the GTs and 5th place for Dean Reimers. Hutchinson relegated to 6th. Rounding off the GT rankings, it's Anderson in 7th, McGracken in 8th, 9th for Thorville, 10th for Uniacki, 11th for Pachea, 12th for Ramaker, and 13th for Wagner, or Wenger. I actually should probably ask him how he wishes that pronounced.
I will choose to pronounce it Wagner, because it is German and very nice.
It is German, but he's a Greek driver, so I'm wondering how that ends up being pronounced in Greece.
Well, you see, what happened was maybe his father, he came south during a certain period in the 40s, and then, kind of just hung out.
Nothing bad ever happened.
Nothing at all. He was just there to provide assistance.
So it looks like Fahea has pitted. It doesn't look like any of the other P2s have pitted yet. Just based on looking at the gaps here. Perhaps Rick Martel has pitted. He's far enough back that I would believe perhaps he has made his stop. I know that the P2s are looking at either a 1 or 2 stop race, depending on how they get their fuel mileage. GT3 should be looking at a solid 1 stop strategy.
It's looking like our leaders in the pits. Hervas.
Gap just grew, though, for a bit there. Maybe he just came out. Oh, I think he just came out of the pits. Okay, so yes. Hervas has been in, and looks like he's gotten out still in the lead, actually. So, good on him. I mean, I suppose, I suppose technically the fact that the guy who was actually chasing him had already pitted as well may have helped with that, but, and it looks like Dean Reimer is heading into the pits along with Andy Blade. And a little bit of pit road. A little bit of argy-bargy in the pit lane.
There's a clearly marked line, guys. Stay at a high speed till you hit that mark.
And then immediately pull a brakey and slam into the guy behind you.
That's how it's done.
Looked like there were 2 other GT3s also in the pit lane. Couldn't make out who they were. We know that it was not Simon Boehner, who has, I believe, also made his pit stop because he is now behind David Anderson and Scott Hutchinson. So that would suggest that he has been in and out of the pits.
Just trying to scroll back through Discord to find out what Hutchinson had posted. I do remember he'd posted something, but I can't find it.
Simon Boehner trying to carve back through the field. Of course, the interesting thing is I do believe Chris Ramaker made a pit stop earlier on. He, of course, was the one who spun and hit the wall. And I believe he made a pit stop to repair damage, wondering how much fuel he put in. And it looks like Andy Blade has been beaten off a pit row by Dean Reimers. Of course, the GT3s are also asking the question, do they change tires or do they not change tires? I would suggest that Reimers did not change tires and Andy Blade did. Would explain the discrepancy there. I'm
just not sure why our GT3 cars are changing tires. It does it at a different time and it's only a 1-hour race. That's still boggling my mind.
Well, I think what it was is that on Wednesday before this race, we had run basically the same race as a Wednesday 0 series practice event. And we did Hockenheim. We did a slightly shorter race with higher tire wear, but it worked out to be somewhat similar. And the cars that changed tires while they lost track position were able to catch and pass the cars that did not. So I think the suggestion was that while you could easily do this on one set of tires, there may be a benefit to having the fresh tires at the end, as Simon Boehner going on the attack against David Anderson into corner 1. He gets around the yet-to-pit Anderson.
Now, my question is, would it be better to go with studded winter tires because you get better traction, more durability, and looks cool as fuck when you hit the gas?
Looking out my window right now, that would be a good idea. We've got about a foot of snow out here.
Whoa!
Nice. We haven't had snow that's stuck around, and I'm in northern BC, Canada.
Yeah, we haven't really had anything here either. John Pacheco coming out of the pit lane. Now, just to wrap up the whole tire debate, I'm a little surprised that Dean Reimers elected to stay on the same set of tires. And this is just a little bit of insider baseball here for a moment, but having raced with Dean for a couple seasons in Zero Racing, Dean is a terrible tire manager and will murder his tires in short races. So, if any GT3 should have probably considered making the tire change, it might have been Dean Reimers, and he did not.
I'd like to let the folks at home know that we are currently sponsored by Uncle Elmer's Carbonated Wood Alcohol. Free squirrel marinade recipe in every case. Do not apply to painted surfaces. Family-owned company since last week. And now back to our race.
David Anderson's still running in. He's being shown in 9th, but oh, there he is. Okay, he passed someone in the pits. Is what that was. Okay, so he's running in 9th place, but has yet to pit. He's behind Simon Boehner, who I do believe has pitted. Mind you, this is largely a guesswork. I wish just pitching it out there to the race room guys who handle the spectator mode. A pit stop counter would be really nice.
That would be.
What about a pit start
Looking
counter?
at the timing before it went back to normal here and just showed everybody a lap down, I don't believe our GT3 leader in the Bentley has pit.
I do not believe so either.
He's got over a minute lead over second place.
Indeed. Also, I would suggest that he would have dropped a spot, because you can see Ariel Zatoni, who was the second place GT3, is back in 13th place, having probably pitted. I would imagine if Morano had pitted, he would be somewhere around that area. Although Zatoni appears to have gotten a really unimpressive pit stop, because he's lost out to Dean Reimers for sure. He's lost out to Scott Hutchinson. And he's pretty much close to Andy Blade, who we know changed tires. So, what did Zatoni's team do in the pits that led to such a unspectacular stop?
I think the real mystery here is why you haven't referred to him as Ariel the Zamboni Zatoni. You're Canadian. What's wrong with you?
Not a big Helwani fan.
Okay, that's a jump too far for me.
David Anderson continues on, having not yet made his pit stop. If I were to kind of pull this out, I believe we're still waiting on pit stops from Cesar Morano, David Anderson, Mike McGracken. Possibly those are the last 3 GT3s to not have pitted yet, but I could be mistaken.
Somebody just pulled in there in the background. Looked like a Mercedes, I couldn't tell.
That could be... That appears to be myself, actually, in the Audi.
It's not green.
Well, I just dropped a spot to Scott
colorblind.
Hutchinson. I just dropped a spot to Scott Hutchinson, who just passed the pit lane, so...
Yeah,
oh, Dean Reimer's off!
He was having a good race.
Here comes the aforementioned Ariel the Zamboni. Zantoni.
Remember, kids, half of life is laughing at your own jokes.
So Zatoni moves into 4th place in the GT3s. One of the cars ahead of him has not yet pitted. That's David Anderson. He'll pick up that spot. Also, Cesar Morano has not pitted, but Morano was ahead of him at the time. Michael McGracken has re-emerged from the pits behind Andy Blade. And Wagner is there, as well as a couple of the P2s making their way through the grid. I believe that is Rick Martel.
How can you tell? Because he is very attractive.
The most attractive car is Rick Martel at all times. Dean Reimers, Andy Blade. Oh! Contact.
He did. That man did.
I don't think he's dead. That seems a bit much.
Rip.
Andy Blade tracking down Dean Reimers. Again, we're working on the theory that Andy is on new tires and that Dean Reimers is on old tires. This would make sense, seeing as Reimers has had, I believe, 2 spins since his pit stop, which suggests that the amount of grip he's got on those tires is kind of negligible at this point. which is not a good place to be with 21 minutes left.
Would you say that Andy Blade may or may not look a little rusty?
A little rusty, yeah. A little chipped. David Anderson still appears to be avoiding the pit lane, still in third place amongst the GT3s. Travis, what do you consider to be the ideal pit fuel strategy in terms of this race? Is it to go with the full load at the start, go deep, and then pit later on, or is it more of a 50-50 game?
I personally prefer to start on the full tank. At least, I mean, in the GT3 cars, you have to, because even at your pit stop, you're putting the whole tank back in. But the P2s, I mean, you're going to run, if you do a short stop at first, you're basically losing time. I don't know if I want to say that on the air and give anybody any ideas, but I'm not in P2, so I don't really care.
Racist.
If you start out with the shorter, you know, with less fuel, when you pull into pit, you're taking a longer pit stop, and then on your second stop, you're filling up again because you've already done your short stint at the beginning. Whereas if you start on a full tank, you're having one full pit stop and then a short pit. So essentially, you're adding half a pit stop if you're starting on half a fuel load or a quarter of a load or whatever it is that you're trying to gain time from. It's not worth it. It's just not.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I went pretty deep in this race in my GT3, although the GT3s didn't have to do the double full load for this particular track. If memory serves, I worked it out to be I went with a full load of fuel at the start and then put 70 liters in at the pit stop. And, just minor spoiler alert, I made it across the line with 1 liter left. So, pretty much perfect math.
Yeah, ran that one out nice.
Chris Ramaker on the tail of John Pacheco. Ramaker, of course, a championship contender in the GT3 class coming into this race, but had that moment where he hit the wall, had to make a damage pit stop, and, might have had to make a separate fuel... Well, definitely made a separate fuel stop as well, I think. Or maybe he never fixed the damage. That might... Because I'm looking at his car, and unless he's picked up additional damage, he's still effed up from that contact with the wall.
Nah, if you... I know this because I did it at Spa, our enduro race we did last weekend. If you knock the front clip off the car, whenever it puts the quote-unquote new clip back on the nose... It is still damaged for some reason.
Interesting.
Not sure why that is.
Does it affect the car's handling, or is this purely a visual thing?
I did not notice any loss in time once they repaired it. I didn't even realize that it still showed damage until after the race. Whenever you go to that like static cameras watching the car go around, I was like, I still had damage on my nose. But
okay.
It didn't hurt my lap times.
I'm wondering if it may have hurt Chris, though, because Chris is one of the faster GT3 drivers in this race. And if you recall, he finished in... Oh! Felix Thorvald having a moment there of off track. Dean Reimer's also off the track.
Around again.
So...
Looks like he made pretty significant contact with the wall also. He,
as a guy...
enough to warrant a pit stop or not.
As a guy who did not... change tires at his pit stop, I might recommend some people consider changing their tires at the pit stop if they are struggling like Dean Reimers is in this later stint of the race. Speaking of which, I've just made the pass on Dean Reimers.
Yeah, back to what I was saying earlier about taking tires. I guess it depends on your tire management ability. And like I said, I didn't run this round, but I know at Road America, like I was still at 80-something% on my tire.
Yeah, Road America, ironically the race where I did change tires because I'm a dummy. I think it was definitely not required, but Hockenheim is a little bit of a coin flip. It depends on how your race has been going and how those tires are handling themselves. Anyways, Dean Reimer's trying to make a move on me here to reclaim. Just trying to work the math out of my head. Oh, and around he goes again.
Getting too aggressive with the curves.
Might be. Anyways, going back to finishing my thoughts finally on the damage thing. I'm wondering if Chris Ramaker did have problems with his car the whole race, because I don't know if he pitted to fix that damage and just never did, or what the deal is, or if that's, like you said, the damage is just showing despite the fact that he's fixed it. But I kind of was expecting him to make progress back through the grid after his accident. And, well, as you can see, it's not really happened. He's still in 17th place, and the cars that he's ahead of, spoiler alert, Felix Thorvald is actually out of the race. He's been black flagged for not serving a drive-through penalty. And Frederico Wagner, who we've seen has had a number of problems with generally staying on the track. Keep it up, though, Mr. Wagner. It'll come. And then John Pache, who just passed after he went off the track. So I'm wondering if Ramaker is indeed still compromised on an aerodynamic level. Because as one of, I would say, the 3 fastest drivers in GT3, the fact that he's made very little progress back through the field suggests that he's still not running at full pace.
Yeah, since it's already got that damage modeled, I'm wondering if maybe he actually has picked up more damage at some point. We just didn't catch it on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right, it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't be able to come back, because that crash was very early on. That was lap, what, 1 or 2?
I'm going to say lap 2, I do believe.
Yeah, so at this point,
probably
he should have made up more ground.
Yeah, probably around like 58, 57 minutes left in the race was when he crashed, and here we are at 14 minutes, and he's just now making up some ground.
I think it's just the fact that his technique's off. When he's finished the bottle of wine, he needs to just let it slip out the window and trail off, not actually try and throw it forward past his own car.
So I'm trying to figure out if I think David Anderson has actually made his pits. I think he has. He's behind Scott Hutchinson. He's just come out ahead of Andy Blade, which running deep has, I think, served Anderson quite well. He's made up a couple of spots, passing Andy Blade via the pit stop, passing Dean Reimers. Of course, Reimers has had some problems since. So he's made up 2 spots and is now running in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place in the GTs. Although Andy Blade is on his tail now. And it looks like Jake Sorak is coming up to lap the field. Been a bit of a lonely race for Mr. Jake Sorak. He was, of course, caught up in that early incident. And then has spent basically a large portion of the remainder of the race cutting through the GT3 class. Now he's lapping them, but is quite a bit behind the model Rick Martel, I do believe, and will probably finish in that 6th place position.
Yeah, and he's definitely still carrying damage from that early crash. You can see his headlight is out on the left.
Yeah, but if the car is stable, he may not have a real need to fix it.
And also that saves weight.
No, because the headlight is still there. It's just broken.
Well, it needs to hit it harder next time. You see, if you ditch your bumper and all the headlights, you save weight and you go faster.
Andy Blade putting a lot of pressure on David Anderson here, but we're heading into a straightaway where the Mercedes' grunt should save the position. The Merc being one of the strongest engine cars in the grid for GTs, and the Audi being not so much. Blade, though, has the inside line. I think he's got the pass made here. Yes, he does. Andy Blade moving up another position into 12th overall, and as they also pass...
That's 5th in class.
I believe you are correct. It'd be Morania, Boehner, Hutchinson, Zatoni, and then Blade. Yes, so 5th place. Anderson drops to 6th in the class. Still having a very solid race, David Anderson. Good work. The last of the late pitters.
Is that like the last of the ghetto astronauts?
No, because I don't think we've seen the last of those.
Ooh.
Oh my god, you left him speechless. It's got to be a first.
It happens every so often. Byron, as a purely cosmetic observer, what car is your favorite?
Gulf Oil. I mean, it's a Porsche, so it's not great, but it's.
Well, I meant the literal car, not the livery.
Oh, well, I mean, since I suck ass at like actually recognizing different makes and models and stuff, it's a question that I'm gonna have to just totally make up and go with Mercedes because it's expensive.
Well, these are all expensive cars. David Anderson's car is a Mercedes. That was the one we were looking at.
Well, I mean, the Porsche is expensive, but it shouldn't be because it's literally just a Vito. It's just a bug that they stepped on and squished out longer, right?
There's some significant differences.
I don't know if that's really true.
It does look. Speaking of the top of the GT3 class, though, Cesar Maragno appears to have lost a fair amount of ground to Simon Boehner. We had a shot there where Boehner's Porsche was making a fair amount of headway into the lead that Maragno's Bentley has had this whole race, and maybe we'll see a fight for the class win towards the end of this. A bit anticlimactic if Maragno can take a second one in a row.
Also, I don't fit in Porsches, so I mean that's just kind of out.
Admittedly, I think all of these cars would be a problem for you to fit into.
God damn it. I bet you Zonda'd make a big one for me. They're nuts.
The idea of watching you drive one of these prototype 2s would be incredibly amusing.
Yeah, because I'd be like chest up over the steering wheel. Listen, put me in one of these tiny ass open cockpit cars, and I will totally wear one of those. I will stick a little propeller on my helmet because just to maximize comedic value.
We ride with the race leader Enrique Hervas, who is 26 seconds to the good, and I think is actually coming up to lap Jake Sorak here. Looks like for the second time.
Boehner's definitely closing the gap. I don't know if he'll get it done in 8 minutes, but he's closing it.
He's gonna drop the Bane hammer.
I kind of gotta wonder why, because I think like Boehner made up ground in the pit stop, so I don't suspect he went with a fresh set of tires in any way. Or if he did, his pit crew needs a hefty bonus for putting that kind of pit stop time in with the tire change. So it's a bit weird that he's now making the run. I don't know, maybe Maragno has a similar problem to myself, and that is ass pain. Might be a thing.
Yeah, booty.
But Boehner is making a run, and is definitely closing the gap to the Bentley. Actually, there's the car that you might actually fit into, Byron, the Bentley.
That's possible.
That is a large car.
I'd say the Bentley or the BMW M6 are probably your best bets. Or the Camaro.
Camaro, I definitely fit in. It's made for fat-ass Americans.
Oh, harsh. Shots fired.
Can't tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, none taken.
All I'm saying is y'all might want to lay off like the chocolate lard for dessert. That's all I'm saying.
So Boehner is probably the most interesting car remaining. He's catching the class leader, and we'll see if he can make a run in the late going here to get the position.
It'd be interesting to see how many fucking messages I get on Discord later.
It looks like, if I were to venture a guess, Maragno's tires are not in great shape. We've seen a fair amount of him driving around, and it's been very, very smooth in the race. And, well, he's not, going off the track or anything, but he's definitely going a little bit wider in every turn now. Makes me think that he's just kind of suffering for grip. And I do know that the Bentley, being a gruntier car, a little bit heavier, would be a little bit harder on its tires than, say, the Porsche.
I think I need to make some more Trackmania tracks.
I've been asking for that for years. Federico Wagner being lapped again by Maragno and soon Boehner. You can see that BMW is pretty beat up. It has been in the wars.
Pretty sure he is missing a left rear wheel, guys.
I think he is. I was just thinking is that a graphical illusion, or is he actually missing a wheel?
That is proper weight reduction.
I was about to say that is some bold conservancy of weight, and I applaud his. All he has to do is steer really hard in one direction. It's totally fine.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Indeed. Top 100% winner of the race for weight conservancy.
Ariel Zatoni still hasn't really made up a tremendous amount of ground after the pit stop.
Somebody hard in the tires back there.
Oh, Morano's dropped! Briefly.
Is that who it was?
And then came back. I don't know. He briefly dropped to like 9th place and then is now back in 7th. So maybe just a connection drop. I'm not sure who was in the tires.
I could tell it was a dark colored car. That scared me.
Ariel Zatoni on the back of Scott Hutchinson. This is a battle for a podium in the GT3 class, and Hutchinson just went off the track.
Podium, just look at him.
This is the second time that we may have cast your curse, Scott Hutchinson.
You are.
I don't know. That may have been some lag or disconnection or something.
Yeah, he just dropped back to 19th place. I think his connection gave up.
Yeah, he was jumping up and down, and then he settled in the back there.
Yep, so I think Scott Hutchinson joins Felix Thorville on the DNF list, along with whatever car it was we lost earlier in the race. I still haven't pieced together who that was. Edward Gonzalez, Speedy's on the charge, Byron!
Oh, he is caught Fahea.
He has caught Fahea in the battle for 2nd place.
Go, Speedy, go!
Really haven't been paying much attention to the P2 battles, but we've got one now.
I'm just gonna guess you guys will probably cast your curse to him, and he will now go into the wall.
We will see.
Go, Speedy. Go, Speedy. It's your birthday. Use a pit maneuver. There's a pit. Oh!
There's your pit maneuver. Fahea in the pits.
Fahea in the pits. So, question becomes, is it damage that Fahea is struggling with, or is he running out of gas?
Technically non-lethal.
He did pit earlier than any of the other cars. He may just be making a second stop.
A second stop with 3.5 minutes to go. Costly.
When you're out, you're out.
I suppose. That's some bad mathematics, though. If it's going to be a two-stopper, make it a two-stopper. Enrique Hervas in the Martini car, still leading the way. By 35 seconds, I think he's in good shape. Couple of cars lag. It looks like Simon Boehner's lost a little bit of ground to Morano, so that hopeful battle for the GT3 win, I think, might be a little bit on hold right now. They're coming up to lap Dean Reimers, whose race has gone... Would you say Dean Reimers has had the most dramatic reversal of fortunes of anyone in this race?
It would appear so. He was running real strong at the beginning, and after that pit stop, just a complete 180.
Mm-hmm. I mean, still in a decent position. He's going to finish, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7th in the GT3s. Oh, contact!
Oh, my goodness.
They're all dead. Rip.
He gives, I'm going to guess that's...
Reimers.
Oh, and it hits him again.
That's Reimers on Alamore, I believe was the contact.
It looked like he got off in the grass under the braking there.
When a car hits a guy and you spin out, yada yada yada, that's a bar.
And you die.
Yeah, there you
go. Can Boehner make a run against the Bentley?
Looks like the lap traffic back with the BMW with no rear wheels. Kind of pushed him back there, but he's closing quick. This might end up being a last lap fight.
We really need to get a good look at Wagner's car at some point to figure out if that wheel is actually missing, because I'm having a hard time believing he's only 6 laps down on 3 wheels. But it definitely looked like it.
I don't know where the leader of the race is, but this may be the last lap. It's not showing a time.
I don't believe so. We still have 1:20 remaining. That should be at least one more lap.
Oh no, there. Okay, he just started the lap.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, so we'll have one more.
This will be Hervas's final lap, and Simon Boehner is getting very close to Cesar Maragno. This battle may not be over. Porsche versus Bentley.
And that shot right there really tells you what the advantages of each car are. That Porsche was able to drive in really deep, but the grunt of that Bentley coming out of the corner was drastic.
Yeah, the Bentley is quite possibly the worst cornering car of the GTs being used here. Save for perhaps the Mustang. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that that assertion?
I've driven the Bentley. I haven't driven the Mustang. The Bentley's not terrible in the corners.
Yeah, but like compared to like the Audi and the Porsche and the Callaway, I think definitely those three are stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that would really just leave the Mercedes as a possibility.
When it comes to an all-around car, the Mercedes is it's not my favorite, but it would be the favorite of a lot of the GT3 users on the service, because it's a great car. It really is. They're taking the white flag here. It's got one more lap to get it done.
One more lap. Simon Boehner on a charge for victory. Kind of coming out of nowhere, because before the pit stops, it was Zatoni, it was Maragno. Those were really the guys to talk about. But Boehner is stepping it up here in the second half. And we're not really sure how. Don't think he did anything in the pits that helped him, really. But maybe it's just a case of the Bentley's really losing its tires.
It's not close enough to make a move, but if he times it right, he'll be able to gain a lot of ground right here in the hairpin.
Indeed.
Shows his nose, makes the Bentley go defensive.
Makes the Bentley go defensive.
Like
Doors open!
It worked.
Oh!
Yeah, get him!
Oh no.
Oh, a bit of a pit maneuver. We'll see if he gives the spot back or if there's any kind of penalization. Speaking of which, there's Wagner's car. Andy Blade a little bit off the track. I believe these cars are finished the race, just because of the vagrancies of how things work. So there's Maragno. He's continuing.
Alone. Says he's 8th, so it doesn't look like Boehner's going to give the spot back.
Yep, Boehner is still up in front. Oh, no, Boehner is slowing down. He gave the spot back.
I like it.
Or ran out of fuel.
I like it.
Listen, this doesn't make any sense to me at all. I thought this was hit-to-pass rules.
It's not hit-to-pass rules.
I demand a hit-to-pass race.
It'd be interesting, just armchair race stewards here. Do we think that was entirely Boehner's fault, or did Maragno play a role in perhaps going too aggressively defensive?
I don't know. I wouldn't place blame on either driver there. I mean, it was the last lap. You're in it at that point. There's going to be contact if you're racing that close. It was an aggressive move, trying the over-under, but Boehner did go defensive late. Tough call to place blame, but I do like that he gave him the spot back. To me, that should withdraw any possible penalty there.
Absolutely. He gave himself more time penalty than you would really ever see in an actual race. So, yeah.
I'd like to place the blame squarely on the fans because they are clearly bloodthirsty and evil.
Your top 5 in the prototypes. Enrique Hervas defeating Speedy Gonzalez. Edward Gonzalez followed by Felipe Fajea, Azar Alamore, Rick Martel. In the GTs, it's Maragno, Boehner, Zatoni, Blade, and Anderson, your top 5.
Based on those gaps there, from P1, P2 overall, or P2, P3, I'm sorry, it looks like the Radicals did make a second pit stop. I don't think Fajea would have been able to gain that much time back without it.
Seems unlikely. Anyways, that is all for today, gentlemen. Thank you once again for accompanying me on this commentary journey.
Yes, sir. Having a ball.
Y'all have fun now.
And, yeah, that's it.